This is the story of Mohammad Bijeh, who was known as the vampire of the Tehran desert. His end was as terrifying as his crimes. Baghdasht, a city in Iran, was where his reign of terror continued for a year. Under the pretense of offering something, he would lure innocent children and then silence them forever. This horrific incident, filled with hatred and pain, spread fear throughout Tehran. The court sentenced him to death. But was that justice enough for those innocent children? Mohammad Bijeh, the vampire of the Tehran desert, was his end just the beginning of another gruesome story? Stay with us for more spine-chilling real-life crime stories. Baghdasht, a small city in Iran located on the edge of the desert, is where our story unfolds. The streets here are dominated by dust and scorching heat. People are busy with their daily lives, some selling goods in small shops, while others rush through the city streets for work. The sun blazes in the sky and the intensity of the heat is visible on every face. This story takes place in the present, but the shadows of its past still linger in the corners of this city. Mohammad Bijeh, known by the townspeople as the vampire of the desert, was a man who never forgot the harshness and pain of his childhood. He was born on May 20th, 1982, into a crowded family with 6 biological and 6 step-siblings. When he was 4 years old, his mother passed away from cancer. Her death plunged Bijeh's world into darkness. His father, a harsh and ruthless man, remarried soon after. This not only deprived Bijeh of his mother's love, but also of the warmth of a new mother. His father's cruelty grew even worse. He frequently beat Bijeh and chained him up, filling his childhood with pain and resentment. The innocence of a young child and his emotional needs were completely disregarded. Ignoring this became the bias of a deep mental trauma. When Bijeh was 11 years old, his family settled in Kattuabad. However, Bijeh had to work in a furnace, which was extremely difficult and miserable for him. During this difficult time, he was not only facing physical hardships, but another terrible incident happened in his life. He was raped several times, which left a deep scar on his soul. Bijeh's innocence, once safeguarded in his mother's presence, was lost to the merciless expanse of the desert. Every agony and suffering carved deep scars into his soul. His mother's death and the cruelty he endured planted the seeds of hatred within him. The relentless atrocities he faced twisted the man he was meant to become. He convinced himself that he would take revenge on a world that had never shown him love. His inner torment and frustration festered into a thirst for vengeance. By the time he turned 20, that thirst had consumed him, transforming him into something monstrous. Bijeh's rage and pain found an outlet in the most horrifying way. He began targeting innocent children. His victims were young, their ages ranging from 8 to 15. Mehrab Mandani, 10 years old, died on June 23, 2002. Harish Loloy, 11 years old, died on June 30, 2002. Ghulam Ali Zadeh, 9 years old. 22 July 2002, Hamid Saad Ghafoor, age 13 years. 1 August 2002, he killed 54 innocent children like this. The death of these innocent children shook the whole city. They used to lure the children by telling them that they were going to hunt animals in the desert south of Tehran. They would take out rabbits and foxes from their burrows and the children would go with them. Mohammad Bijeh had another accomplice, Ali Gulpur, who was popularly known as Ali Baghi. The two would poison the children or stone them to death and rape. The man bury them in shallow graves and also put dead animals near their graves to hide the smell of the rotting corpses. Our report also said that the pair chose some of their victims from poor Afghan families who were living illegally in Iran, which means that some disappearances were not reported to the police. The crimes of Mohammad Bijeh and his accomplice Ali Baghi attracted widespread attention in the Iranian media. On the 24th of September 2004, Bijeh was arrested and his case was tried in Branch 74 of the Panel Court of Tehran. 23-year-old Mohammad Bijeh confessed in court to abusing and killing children between March and September 2004. Iranian media revealed that Bijeh was sentenced to death for the symbolic murder he confessed to and 100 lashes for abusing the children. The trial was halted briefly earlier in the day when a relative of one of the victims attacked Bijeh while he was giving testimony. Family members began throwing chairs and tried to apprehend him as he described how he had kidnapped, raped, and killed a young victim. Police said the ISIS had arrested him. The father of the boy whose murder was being referred to wept and said even Serbs had not committed such crimes against Bosnians, NA student news agency reported. Both men were escorted out of the courtroom. His accomplice, Ali Bagi, was acquitted of involvement in the killings, but convicted of taking part in some of the crimes he had confessed to. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. A sentence of 100 lashes was pronounced. The Supreme Court's decision regarding Bijeh was carried out in Pakdasht, a small, impoverished town about 19 miles southeast of Tehran. This was the same town where the murders had taken place. On March 16, 2005, in the desert region of Pakdasht, a massive crowd of approximately 5,000 people, including women and children, gathered to witness the flogging and execution. However, riot police had cordoned off the area. The criminal was brought to the desert outskirts of Tehran, where he had been involved in a year-long killing spree. His clothes were removed, and he was tied to an iron pole before being lashed 100 times. Some members of the crowd threw stones, while spectators, blocked by barbed wire and around 100 police officers, shouted louder and louder. Judicial authorities took turns whipping his bare back before sentencing him to death. With each lash, he collapsed onto his knees 3 times. According to an AFP report, the 17-year-old brother of the victim, Rahim Ali, broke through police security and attacked Bijeh with a knife, injuring his back. After the flogging, a rope was placed around his neck and attached to a crane's hook. The crane's arm jerked upward, suspending Bijeh's body in the air. Some people in the crowd wept, calling out the names of their murdered children, while others cried out loudly. About 20 minutes later, the body was lowered, and a doctor confirmed that Bijeh was dead. Several people, including family members of the victims, repeatedly tried to approach the body, but riot police held them back. The struggle between the authorities and the crowd lasted for about half an hour. 16 police officers were reprimanded, and the Ministry of Interior criticized the police for their failure to apprehend the accused after the first crime. Resident Zora Khaliji stated that public executions reduce crime rates. She added that Bijeh had destroyed many families and deserved more than just death. However, Darsh Mehraban argued that public executions only promote violence. He pointed out that despite several criminals being executed, crime rates have never decreased. It is an ugly reality that a person is hanged even if they have committed multiple crimes. Revenge is not a solution. In Iran, public executions are carried out only when the court believes that the criminal's actions have deeply affected public sentiment. Iranian reformists argue that public executions damage the country's international reputation. Bijeh suffered from abuse, violence, and sexual assault in childhood, which deeply harmed his personality. This highlights how domestic violence and mistreatment can severely impact a child's development and future. No attention was given to Bijeh's mental health, leading his internal suffering to push him toward crime. This incident teaches us that mental health issues should be taken seriously. Increasing awareness and taking collective action to prevent such cases is essential. It also demonstrates how society's indifference can push an individual toward crime. Additionally, it shows the importance of compassion, empathy, and support in a person's life. If Bijeh had received timely support and help, perhaps his life and that of his victims could have been different. In this case, Bijeh was publicly executed, reinforcing society's sense of justice. However, it also raises the question, does this truly solve the problem? Does such punishment actually reduce crime, or is it just a form of revenge? Share your opinion in the comment box. If you liked our storytelling style and appreciate the effort behind this story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We will continue bringing you more inspiring stories. Thank you.